Raider Nation, what's going on? It's Mitchell Rentz here, host of the Raiders Report. And coming up on today's show, Pete Carroll will be fired at the end of this season. Whether you want to look up Pete Carroll replacements or whether you want to look up who's going to be the next Las Vegas Raiders head coach, I got you covered here. Because on today's show, the Silver and Black, I believe they're going to have the number 1 overall pick. I believe all 10 of the coaches that you see on today's program would be interested in coaching this team if you had the number 1 pick. If you don't have the number 1 pick, I'll be honest, I don't know if any 10 of these people are going to be interested in this job. So today, I have ranked them from 10 all the way down to 1. 1 being the person that I want the most. But I'll tell you this, I would take all 10 of these guys over Pete Carroll, and I wouldn't even bat an eye about it. But if you want the Raiders to move on from Pete, and I'll say it like this because I feel bad for yelling at a 74-year-old head coach that I do think is doing the best that he possibly can, and he was once clearly a legendary head coach, but it's just clearly has passed him by. Pete, I want you to step down, and I want you to step down because I honestly think it's the best thing for you. I think it's the best thing for the Raiders. I think it's best for both sides. But if you're not willing to step down, then you're damn right. I'm going to sit up here and I'm going to go, it's time to fire Pete Carroll. If you feel the exact same way, I hope you hit that like button. Let's go to number 10 here on my Raiders head coach candidates list. Jeff Hafley, the defensive coordinator for the Green Bay Packers. Now, he has been the defensive coordinator for Green Bay the past 2 seasons. There's been some interesting reports around the head coach LaFleur, and maybe the Packers could move on from LaFleur. I don't really think that it's going to happen. But Hafley does come from a little bit of that Sean McVay tree, and y'all know how much I love Sean McVay. I would give up Maxx Crosby for Sean McVay in a trade if it's what it took to go get the best head coach in the National Football League. But he was also the Boston College head coach from 2020 to 2023. A little bit of experience there. Really, I think, helped build that program be the best that it possibly could be in the new NIL realm. Only 46 years old, so he's not super young, but he's kind of in that nice little sweet spot for some people, and he's been coaching in college and in the NFL since 2001. He's number 10 on my list. Let's go to number 9 on my Raiders head coach candidates for 2026, Mike Tomlin. Currently the head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers, and putting Tomlin at 9 here, I couldn't believe that I did it, but I think it just also shows how many solid head coaches there are right now in this current carousel, and it's why you can't afford to go into the next season with Pete Carroll. He is currently the Steelers head coach, and he's been the Steelers head coach since 2007 and has never had a losing season. A career record of 198, 124, and 2 ties, which Chugs probably loves. Super Bowl 43 champion, but the problem is he hasn't won a playoff game since 2016. I am a believer that Pittsburgh and Tomlin are going to have that mutual split because I think both sides just want a fresh start. But I'll say this because I said it so many times last year and people were like, Mitch, why do you want Mike Vrabel to be the Raiders' next head coach? I wanted Mike Vrabel because I didn't think that there were 32 people on this planet that were a better head coach than Mike Vrabel. And I don't think that there are 32 people on this planet that are a better head coach than Mike Tomlin. He's a defensive-minded guy, and he's going to demand respect. And I think that he would be able to get a solid OC, a solid DC. And I think Mike Tomlin with the Las Vegas Raiders would be a really, really good fit. Let's go to number 8 here on my show, Joe Brady, offensive coordinator for the Buffalo Bills. If I actually had to guess, I'm going to be a believer that some people are like, man, I expected Joe Brady to be a little bit higher on your list, Mitch. And I kind of expected it too, but there's a lot of good candidates here. Offensive coordinator for the Buffalo Bills right now, and he's been the Bills OC since 2024. He was also the interim in 2023. Former Panthers offensive coordinator in 2020, 2021. He was also the LSU pass game coordinator when Joe Burrow was down there in LSU, and I think it's the greatest college football team I've ever seen, without a doubt. It's the greatest offense that has ever blessed college football. He's only 36 years old. And if you want the Raiders to draft a Fernando Mendoza, a Dante Moore, maybe even trade for a Cam Ward, if you don't know what I'm talking about, go watch my draft plan video. But when Josh Allen says something like, he's been awesome for my career, I also would wonder, could you have Joe Brady and could you bring in somebody like Brian Dable to be your offensive coordinator, a duo that really helped make Josh Allen the best version of himself. Allen was clearly talented, but we need a guy who is proven that can show, has that track record, that can get the most out of a quarterback. And if you want to go Fernando Mendoza, I think Joe Brady and Brian Dable would actually be a sneaky, sneaky duo that would take this Raiders job. Let's go to number 7 here on my Raiders head coach candidates video. Robert Saleh. There are certain people that I think get the raw end of the deal. And when you coach the New York Jets, when you're a part of a bad organization, you're not going to look the best that you possibly can. Saleh is a very well-respected defensive-minded coach. He's a very well-liked coach. He comes from the Shanahan tree. But I look at what that 49ers team looks like with all the injuries that they've had. And don't get me wrong, Shanahan is one of the best in the biz. But Saleh also has shown you that he is a really, really solid coach. And I think that the way that this would end up going down is very similar to Dan Quinn. Dan Quinn got an opportunity to be the head coach in Atlanta. Didn't really go maybe the way that they were hoping. Obviously, they blew that 28-3 game. Then he gets another opportunity to be the defensive coordinator for the Dallas Cowboys. Now he's the head coach of the Commanders. I get the Commanders are having a bad year this year. They've had a lot of injuries. They've had unluckiness, no doubt about it. But Dan Quinn, that first year that he took over, helped get Washington to the NFC Championship game. I think Robert Saleh is kind of in that same boat where he's a very well-liked and respected coach. You better bring him in for an interview. I'm not just saying that because of the Rooney Rule. I will say this, though. If you don't know what the Rooney Rule is, you have to at least interview 2 coaches, candidates that are a minority. And I think Mike Tomlin, Robert Saleh are 2 coaches that deserve this job. And I think that they're 2 coaches that you would bring in for an interview. I would also even entertain the idea of giving an interview to Patrick Graham. Not because I think that he would honestly get the job, but if you're the Raiders and if PG were to get hired elsewhere, again, I don't think it's going to happen, you can get some extra of those draft picks. So just wanted to be able to throw that out there because I actually still like PG, and I would love for us to be able to retain him, even though I don't think it's going to happen. Let's go to number 6 here on my list for Raiders head coach candidates. I'm going to put Mike McCarthy here higher than Mike Tomlin, and I'm going to put Mike McCarthy a little bit higher on this list because I think McCarthy was sabotaged by Jerry Jones. And it's really hard to do your job when you have to deal with an owner like Jerry Jones. And, it's very similar. Like maybe McCarthy wouldn't want to come here because he just dealt with a bad owner in Jones, doesn't want to have to deal with a bad owner in Mark Davis. But like I said about Tomlin, you can't convince me that there are 32 people on this planet that are a better head coach than Mike McCarthy. And if I can't get a young, innovative guy, I want to get somebody with a proven track record. Super Bowl champion, has worked with multiple great quarterbacks. I think it would be a great combination with John Spytek, with Tom Brady. A offensive-minded head coach that could go out and get a good OC that can help you build a good overall coaching staff. And again, somebody that has done a lot of winning, 174, 112-2. And just like everything I said about Tom, I want to be clear. My top 5 head coaches are obviously going to be young guys that I want to be able to build with the future. If you can't get somebody that's young, and you can't get one of my top 5 guys, if you go out and you get somebody like a Mike McCarthy, you go out and get somebody like a Mike Tomlin, I believe what I said last year about Vrabel to be true, and I believe in Mike McCarthy, and I believe in Mike Tomlin that they could be able to build something here with the Las Vegas Raiders. Though, coming up on this show, my top 5 head coaches that I want for the silver and black. And I love the coaches on this video. Again, I've done this video every single year for the past 6 years, and I can't remember being more excited, more motivated for the coaches that are in this video compared to all the other years, because I actually think for the first time, if we have the number 1 overall pick, we will be able to get that Mike Vrabel. We will be able to get that Ben Johnson. If you don't have the number 1 overall pick, I don't think you're getting any of these next 5 coaches that I'm about to talk about. Now, before I tell you who they are, today's show sponsored by Prize Picks, America's number 1 fantasy sports app out there. I love Prize Picks. Suggs loves Prize Picks. And with the holiday season here, it's the best time of the year for sports. Bowl games, basketball matchup, playoff pushes, it's all happening at once. And while you and I are out here making decisions every day of maybe what gifts to buy, what to eat, which games to watch, there's one place where it feels good to be right. And on Prize Picks, how you play is up to you. If you want flexibility, you could choose a flex play where you can get paid even if one of your picks misses. And if you want the biggest payouts, go for the power play. So for me, I went power play, and I did a flex play when the Raiders played the Broncos. My flex play only was 4 out of 6, but my power play, I turned $5 into $35. I'll give you a little bit of a sneak peek on my success. When it comes to the Raiders, go less. And then when it comes to the team that they're playing, go more. I'm going to build another lineup like this, and I've had a lot of success going with this route. I don't even think it's necessarily rocket science. But Prize Picks now offers stacks, which you can pick the same player up to 3 times. You can join millions of users. You can also follow me on Prize Picks. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use code CLNS to be able to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. Let's get into number 5 here. I'm going to go Mike LaFleur, offensive coordinator for the Rams. Out of all the coaches on this show, I would say Joe Brady and Mike LaFleur were the two most difficult for me to rank because I love the coaching trees that they come from. I respect them as coaches. And to me, I'm going to be a sucker for anybody that works for Sean McVay. And he's been the Rams OC since 2023. He was the Jets OC from 2021 to 2022. And, he did not do a good job in New York. But again, it's like, is it a New York problem? Is it a Mike LaFleur problem? One thing to be said, Sean McVay is the one that calls plays. And I think the riskiest hire you could do out of this entire video is Mike LaFleur. I want to be very, very clear on that. But I also sit back and I go, he's from the Kyle Shanahan tree. He's from the Sean McVay tree. He's 38 years old. He's been coaching in college football in the NFL since 2009. And I just have a hard time believing that a coach that's been working as the OC underneath Sean McVay is not going to be able to come up with some young, innovative stuff. What I'm about to say might scare you. I've had some people say this could be the next Josh McDaniels. Maybe it is. Maybe it isn't. But to me, I will bet on somebody from the Sean McVay tree because it's proven that it's worked. And that's why he's number 5 on my list. Let's go to number 4 here. It's Brian Flores. And I love Brian Flores as a coach, man. Every time I watch Flores, he like the way that he coaches a defense is the way that I would coach a defense. He's coming at you. He's not going to sit back. He's going to bring the blitz. He's going to bring the pressure. He's going to try to make you uncomfortable. And he's been the Minnesota Vikings defensive coordinator since 2023. He was Miami's head coach in 2019 and 2021. But if you don't remember how that whole situation ended up going down, I encourage you to look it up. I think Flores kind of got the raw end of the deal. I also remember that there was the whole story with Flores, Tom Brady, Stephen Ross on a yacht. And I few years ago said that I don't think that Flores and Brady have a good relationship. From what I understand, Flores and Brady, they are good. And the reason why I bring up this next note here is because we know how much connections matter, and connections matter in the NFL. I know that the word connection scares people because of everything Pete Carroll and McDaniels used to do, but he was the Patriots assistant and coach from 2008 to 2018 when Tom Brady was there. And I do have Brian Flores ranked a little bit higher because of who I would want him to bring with him. I would want Flores to give a shot to Josh McCown. Josh McCown, former NFL quarterback. He is right now the pass game coordinator there in Minnesota, but he's worked underneath Kevin O'Connell, who has been able to show you that he's been able to get a lot out of quarterbacks. And I know McCarthy's struggling, but I mean, Sam Darnold looked right there. Kirk Cousins looked right there. I believe in Josh McCown, not only because he is an NFL quarterback and very well respected, but he also comes from that Sean McVay tree because Kevin McConnell, Sean McVay tree. So to me, you go out and you get a guy who's been able to prove, Brian Flores, that I actually think he can be a good head coach because that team he took over in Miami was one of the worst teams in ever. And I know people probably hate that I'm about to say this, but when I first started working here at Chat Sports, I had to cover multiple teams because I was trying to help this company grow. And one of the teams that I covered early on was the Miami Dolphins. And I remember sitting up there going, Flores is a good coach. It's just this team is shit. And the ownership group wasn't really giving him a lot to work with. I think that they tried to make him fail. So if you get Brian Flores, a great defensive-minded guy, and then you go out and you could bring in a guy like Josh McCown, I really think Raider fans would love what Brian Flores could bring to the table. And I know he can work with Tom Brady. This is where, if we get any one of these top 3 guys, I'm going to put a hole in this freaking table. I'm going to go Jesse Minter, defensive coordinator from the Los Angeles Chargers. Not only can you steal somebody from Jim Harbaugh and somebody from our AFC West rival, but Minter to me has worked underneath so many great coaches, and he clearly has it figured out. He is a smart football mind. Currently defensive coordinator for the Chargers, has worked with Jim and John Harbaugh since 2017. He was the Michigan defensive coordinator in 2022 to 2023 when they won the national championship. He's only 42 years old, has Michigan ties to Brady and Spytech, but I think this, and it's because we got some good sources here close to Michigan, I think he's going to get hired as the next Michigan head coach, and I do wonder, it's what's a better job? Next Michigan head coach or the Las Vegas Raiders head coach. I think if you were to ask Minter that and people close to Minter, I think he would pick Michigan. And I don't even know if I would blame him all that much. But I look at coaching trees, and you also have to remember, like the number one name that I've heard this coaching cycle is Jesse Minter. Just like last year, the number one name that I heard was Mike Vrabel. The Raiders were after Ben Johnson. They were after Mike Vrabel. I guarantee you this. Jesse Minter is somebody that Tom Brady, John Spytek are looking at. They might have to throw the kitchen sink at him, but to me, I would love Jesse Minter as our next head coach. Let's go to number 2 here on my list. Chris Shula, defensive coordinator for the Los Angeles Rams. And typically when I've done this show, I have put offensive-minded guys ranked a lot higher. So I think some people might be surprised that I got a DC, and a DC. The only reason why I got DCs here is because we'll show you who number 1 here is in just a moment. But he's the Rams defensive coordinator for the past 2 seasons and has worked with Sean McVay since 2017. Football is all this guy knows. And when you look at a lot of the reports, a lot of the people around the Rams organization, Chris Shula is regarded as Sean McVay 2.0. Grandson of coaching legend Don Shula for the Miami Dolphins, right? 39 years old, has been coaching in college football in the NFL since 2010. It's like some guys are just bred with it. Like some guys are literally just brought up to be football-minded guys. And I do really, truly believe that he could be the next Sean McVay. I like offensive-minded guys, so that's why he's ranked number 2. And the only reason why Chris Shula is ranked number 2 is because I want the Raiders to draft a young franchise quarterback. And I believe if you draft a young franchise quarterback, going out and getting an offensive-minded head coach is the way to do it. If the Raiders told me, hey, Mitch, we're not going to draft a quarterback, I will put Chris Shula at number 1, I would put Jesse Minter at number 2, and I would put this guy here at number 3. But because I want the Raiders to draft a QB, number 1 here for my Raiders head coach candidates is Klint Kubiak. And to me, if you're going to go out and draft that QB number 1, go get yourself an offensive coordinator that comes from a great coaching tree and look at what he's doing in Seattle. Like, I know Sam Darnold was great last year with Kevin O'Connell, but Sam Darnold is also looking like the best version of himself with Klint Kubiak right now. And Chuck said it may be better. I kind of agree. I think he might look even better right now in Seattle. But with him having coaching currently, or formerly with Minnesota Vikings in 2021, he was with the Saints last year, and I know a lot of y'all watched Derek Carr in New Orleans. Like, Derek Carr looked good with the Saints until he ended up getting hurt. And the style of offense that Kubiak's going to run, I think makes a lot of sense with 2 tight ends like Bowers and Mayer, with an offensive line of center of JPJ, Colt Miller, a few of the other pieces that we have, and a running back like Ashton Jeanty. Like, to me, that offense makes a lot of sense with Kubiak. Son of former Super Bowl winning head coach Gary Kubiak, another guy that's just been brought up. 38 years old, Kubiak ties, Shanahan ties, the current players that we have on our roster. And if you want to draft a quarterback at number 1 overall, I think Klint Kubiak is a slam dunk type of hire. And also related to Jeremy Chuggs. If you don't know, stepdad's cousin. So maybe we can get some inside scoops. Clint, love to be able to get you here on the Raiders Report. So I want the Raiders to move on from Pete. They're going to fire him at the end of the season. And I mean this, Mark Davis. I say this every single year. And if you would have listened to me in every single video that I've done for my Raiders head coach candidates, you would have never have hired Josh McDaniels. You would have never have hired Pete Carroll. You would never have hired, and I know that we were pulling for Antonio Pierce, but there were other coaches out there that we did have ranked higher than AP. It's a cold, hard fact. So if you want to take a screenshot of this, post it on IG, post it on Twitter, tag the Raiders, tag Mark Davis, tag anybody the hell you want to tag. I would greatly appreciate it because to me, if you hire one of those top 10 guys, you will be a better football team. I don't think Pete Carroll is a top 100 living person on this planet for an NFL head coach. So why the hell are we going to keep him? Doesn't make any sense. You hire one of those top 10 guys, and I promise you this, with the draft picks that we have, with free agency, with the players we have on this roster, you can get this team going in the right direction in one offseason. It might take Antonio Pierce decades. It wouldn't take me, and it wouldn't take any of those head coaches to get this team on the right track.